Game week! Game week! Game week! Game week! Oregon Ducks. Oregon Ducks. Game week! Game week. Well, I'm here in beautiful Coos Bay, Oregon on the waterfront. Ocean behind me, as you can see. It's another game week. Oregon got right last week against Eastern Washington. Scored 70 points, which is, it's okay. What is way more impressive, however, is the Oregon Duck did 385 push-ups that day. 385. As is the tradition in Oregon, the Duck does a push-up every time we score for every point we score. Starting with 7, 14, 21, all the way to 70. Turned out 385 push-ups, which is just one reason the Duck is such a dominant mascot. It's just one of the many reasons. Not since the San Diego Chicken has a mascot been so dominant. Nothing against the other mascots. Uga, the live dog that bites. The eagle didn't even come. They didn't even bring their mascot. They didn't even bring an eagle. Why bother when you have the Duck, the dominant mascot? Nothing against other mascots. The big giant head thing from Ohio State, whatever that is. There's some good mascots out there. The Cougar will show up this week, maybe. We'll see. We got BYU. BYU coming off of an upset victory against Baylor. Not really an upset. Baylor, it was a good game. Went into OT. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they got. But I want to talk about another great game. A game that's really went down in history. It's listed as one of BYU's biggest failings. One of BYU's worst losses ever. And it's actually the last time they came to Autzen Stadium. You got to go all the way back to 1990. We were led by Bill Musgrave, who is actually more known as an offensive coordinator than he was. He was a good quarterback. He was a great quarterback. Led us to our first bowl in many, many years. The Liberty Bowl way back when. He started as a redshirt freshman. Was in his prime here in 1990. And BYU came in after a real upset. They were number 4. They had Ty Detmer, who went on to win the Heisman that year. I believe he has the most passing yards in the history of any Heisman winner. That was his year. He was having a great season. Earlier that year, they had upset Miami. Now back then, Miami was a dominant team. They consistently won the national championship. They were number 1 ranked. BYU upset them. And then they came to Autzen. And Autzen was beautiful that day. There was 45,000 people in the stands. Autzen doesn't even hold that many back then. They had standing room only. People were sitting along the edges. The crowd was amazing. It was going crazy. The year before, a lot of people don't talk about this, was another game that it went late. It was a late night game in Provo. We were playing at BYU. We jumped out to a big lead. And then BYU unleashed its arsenal of referees from the WAC referees. And I don't mean the conference, because they started calling. There was incomplete passes. They called fumbles. There was holding calls every time something happened. There was just one job after another. It was whack, but they got the win. Then they had to come to Autzen the next week, fresh after a victory at Miami, feeling pretty good about themselves. Ty Detmer having a record year. What was little Oregon gonna do? Well, we jumped out to a lead. We kept the lead. Brent Musburger was going crazy. Brent, whatever. You know the guy. He was going crazy. The Ducks were pulling off. There was a giant sack by our defensive tackle. I believe his last name was Woods. That went big old sack on Detmer. We were getting to Detmer. Jeff Cummings was getting to him. Everybody was getting to him. And Jeff Tomlinson. Boy, I'm great with names, aren't I? I love butchering names. Yeah, Jeff Tomlinson scored a touchdown or two. It was a great day. It was a great day in Oregon history, and we took down Ty Detmer and the mighty BYU Cougars. And there's some similarities to this game. You got to see it. They've got a mobile, good quarterback, just like Ty, a little bit bigger, stronger guy. They just came off an upset, albeit it was just Baylor. It wasn't Miami. You know, we're not. Back then, I don't think we had been to a bowl game yet. I think it was Musgrave's senior year, and I'm not sure that was. I think that might have been the next year. Might have been that year, but we weren't like we are now. It wasn't just expected that the Ducks would have a great team. We were talented. We were up and coming. We were fighting in a tough Pac-10 conference. Back then, the Pac-10 was a little more respected than the present Pac-12. Pac-10 usually beat the WAC teams. The only one that had a chance back then was BYU, and we put it to rest. We put them to rest that day. The crowd went wild. Me and my friends were. I was 20 at the time, and I don't want to glorify, substance use, but there may have been some substances consumed, alcohol, maybe some marijuana. The night before, my friend had rented or had reserved his game room and pool room for a party, and we all went over to his house. We stayed up all night the night before the game, hanging out in the hot tub most of the night. Had a great time. Another friend had come down from Portland, one of the high school graduates from Churchill High School that I went to, came down from Portland. He had tickets to the game. The rest of us were all watching it in the game room the next day. Or no, maybe it was Shakabrow. I remember his name was Shakabrow as a nickname, is his last name. I didn't remember his first name. Little college tennis player for Arizona. That's completely irrelevant. I don't know why I'm even telling you guys that. We all hung out at his house. We watched the game. We won the game. It's a big deal. It's a lot of fun. And the Duck was very dominant that day, of course. The Cougar made a goofball of him. Made it, was insignificant. The Duck was all over. He was doing his dances. He was running up into the stands. They were doing the crowd surfing. The crowd was amazing. That's what I want to see this weekend. Just to get that old feel back. I know we got a much bigger stadium. It's a little harder to pack out. A little disappointed that we're not selling out the stadium all the time anymore. That's something I think that's got to change this weekend. I might attend this game. I might actually attend this game. I'm in Coos Bay now, but I'll probably be in Eugene Saturday. Might go ahead and get me a ticket, go out to the game to see it in person, because I have a lot of faith this team is going to step up. What about last game? Why aren't I talking about last game? Eastern Washington really didn't show up. To be honest, they did not look great. We were mad after the Georgia debacle, and we showed it. And it was fun to watch. But this weekend, we get a real test. We get to really gauge how far the Ducks have come. We get to see where we're at against a foe that's very beatable, very even though. You got a lot of evenness. This is a pretty even game when you look at talent. I think the Ducks are a little deeper at running back. They have a great running back though. Quarterback, I toss up. They stole one of our linemen last year, our 5-star lineman, Kingsley. I'm not going to try to say his last name. I'm not. There's no point in that. That would be ridiculous. Salmon. Kingsley Salmon. We'll just call him. That's good enough. No need to respect him. Well, I'm not going to call him a traitor. They say once a duck, always a duck. But he was barely a duck. Like, he came here for, I don't know, a few games, transferred, didn't like it, needed to go back home to Utah. Okay, whatever, fine. We're all not cut out to be a great Oregon Duck. Some of us have to go crying back to mama, or whatever he did. I don't want to be disrespectful to college students. I'm older than that. But I gotta say, BYU, coming back to Autzen, that's the kind of beating we gave them at Autzen that day. That's the kind of humiliating beating we gave them at Autzen that day. They haven't even come back in 32 years. It's been 32 years since they've dared step foot in Autzen Stadium, and time to give them a little memory. Kind of remind them. Time to remind them why. Oh golly, that's an annoying boat back. It's just shut up. It's your boat. Anyway, it's game week. I don't have much to talk about. It's pretty self-explanatory. Oregon, BYU, one of the top games of the week. It's all there. The history, Ty Detmer's worst loss, one of the top 5 worst losses in BYU history. When we beat him this week, unless we beat him down really good, it's not going to match up to that week because of the history, because they're still talking about it in BYU. They're still crying. Oh, I read something this morning. They didn't bring their shoes. They didn't think the field would be wet. It's Oregon! Of course the field's going to be wet. It was a good day, but it rained a little. The field was wet. They didn't bring their rain shoes because they thought it was going to be sunny. You got to prepare. It's Oregon. It can always rain. There's no excuse for that. We were sliding all over the field, and that's why we couldn't. That's pathetic. It's pathetic. But no excuses this week. You'll bring your shoes. It's probably not going to rain. It's going to be hot. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be a beautiful day for football, just like it is right here in Coos Bay, Oregon. It's the ocean. That's the ocean, Utes. Utah people, Cougars. That's something you don't see much out there. I know in the middle of the, whatever they're called, the Hitachi. It's another name. I'm not. Wasatch Mountains, in the middle of the, just landlocked in the middle of Utah. No disrespect to the Mormons, honestly. I'm not going to disrespect Mormonism. A lot of people go there. I know this is kind of a lighthearted podcast. I'm not going to go there. We have a lot of really good Mormon players on our team. So I like Mormons. They're nice. They've always been nice people. Religion is a little silly. It's a little silly. Yes, but hey, I've actually never met an unkind Mormon, which is fine because football isn't about kindness. I'm a little yelly today, aren't I? All right, game week. Oregon Ducks. I don't have an effects budget. I'm sorry. That's it. Just gonna do. I don't like editing. It's not my thing. Unedited, raw, first take. That's what you get on game week. Game week. Oregon Ducks beat the Cougars. We all know who's going to win the mascot. Do I need to talk about that anymore? Do I really need to? Obviously, duck is 40 years, 385 push-ups. That's how you that's why the Oregon Duck has been the most dominant mascot for 40 years straight. Not since the San Diego Chicken. Has anybody even touched them? And the Philly Freak thing. The Buckeyes kind of goofy. I like the big goofy head on the, he's kind of, but they don't, none of them can match up to the Duck. Game week!